listening to Double Time, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Preece.
Hello. Welcome to Double Tap for another week. And Shaun Preece is back with me here. Hey, Shaun. I think this is like our first official but kind of unofficial show back of 2025.
Can we say that? Because we have been back, all of last week officially, but
But that was like a special series. That was like a time capsule, a moment in time, as I believe the late Whitney Houston once said.
Normal service has resumed. Yes, happy 2025, everyone.
Chaos is here. Woo!
Doesn't it seem weird? I still can't get used to 2025.
I know. Well, there's no way around it, really.
I'm against it. Let me just say that.
I'm against 2025. There we go. I think someone's going to be snipping that out for social media and using that against you. In fact, maybe by the end of it, we'll be all agreeing with you. We'll find out. Let's see how it goes. But let's stick to tech, because goodness knows there's plenty to talk about.
A new direction this year, I see.
Well, I thought we'd try, yeah. I mean, it's funny, right? Because we did our special series on Braille last week, which, you know what, I really enjoyed that. And I think, going by the emails and the comments we've got on WhatsApp, I think a lot of you have really enjoyed the conversations we had and the real honest chat about the future of Braille. Not just standing up and saying, "Ooh, isn't Braille wonderful?" Actually, getting into a serious conversation about what the future of Braille looks like, how technology can help it, what the role of technology is. It's interesting, though, one thing, and it came up a couple of times, was how AI is kind of not really in the world of Braille yet. Maybe that's a good thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're seeing AI sort of shoehorned into every sector of technology at the minute. Sometimes you think, but why? But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there needs to be a reason, right? And for Braille, I can't think of one at the moment.
No, and even at CES, the major event of the year, the biggest tech event on the calendar, no mention of Braille or AI there. So I'm quite pleased about that in some ways. Not in all ways. We are going to talk about CES today, of course, because last week it was the event that does kick off our year. And in particular for us geeks, it's the year to really get our head around, I think, the themes of what we're going to be talking about. It gives us a bit of a look ahead. But it's interesting, since the onset of AI, the amount of AI that has come along and the amount of use for it, it's interesting to look at technology at CES now. You kind of look at it and go, "Oh yeah, it's a robot dog with AI in it. Okay, cool." Whereas before you'd be like, "Wow, that dog can walk itself. It's a robot dog." It's like our expectations have kind of caught up with what the potential is.
I don't know. Are we still expecting too much from AI? Or are we over that now? Are we over the hype of AI?
I don't know. Well, here's my thinking, right? I think there's a lot of people out there who have not even tried anything related to AI, or at least don't think they have. We've all probably had some interaction with AI in some way without knowing it. Maybe you've called a call center and it's using AI to, talk to you, to understand your query, to send you down a path to get you to the right person to speak to. That could be one thing. People may have tried out some of the features of their smartphone, talking to Siri. Lady A, of course, is artificial intelligence. That is what it is.
Well, I mean, okay.
Well, it's better
if you say
Siri.
so.
And, it's so funny, right? Because I saw a video online of a well-known blind influencer who I shall not name because I wouldn't want to embarrass her, and she was very excited about Apple Intelligence.
Or him.
No, okay. It was a she. It was a she.
We don't identify them.
But she was talking about the fact that, she loved Apple Intelligence because it was able to describe an image for her, and she was very excited about it. But the thing that was kind of missed was that when she asked Apple Intelligence to identify the image and talk about what was in it and describe it for her, it said, "Do you want to use ChatGPT for that?" That's going to become the new "Do you want fries with that?" I think of 2025. It's like everyone just says, "Hey, we've got this great AI that can point you to ChatGPT."
And like, "Do you want fries with that?" The answer is always yes. Of course I do. Can I just make that the default and don't even ask me anymore?
Yeah, well, I honestly, Apple need to sort out this obsession with asking me on every single occasion if I'm happy with everything it's doing. I mean, I'm all for privacy and checking for things, but You go into a website now, it asks for if you do a Google search, it will say, now, are you sure this is on Safari? Are you sure you want to do this? Are you want to allow this? And if you say, yeah, I want you to know my location so you can, get the Google search right, so that when I'm asking for a pharmacy, it's not telling me about one in Australia. I want it to tell me about the one that's near me. But it says, there's a tick box that says, remember this decision for one day. And you're like, oh, you're going to ask me again tomorrow?
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't really experienced that, to be honest. I thought Apple were pretty good on the permissions. In fact, to a fault sometimes.
Well, that's the problem. It's kind of over-egging the pudding. It's like, yeah, I'm for it. It's like the cookie thing. You never find on websites, you're just spending so much time saying yes to or no to things.
Yeah,
It's like, just get me to the content. It's making it very, very difficult. But anyway, I think AI is an interesting place. We're in a very interesting place with it at the moment. And we're going to talk more about that. We're going to have Marc Aflalo joining us very shortly. He is former TV co-host of mine with Access Tech Live. The show is sadly no more on AMI TV, but he is still doing his thing on Your Tech Report on Sirius XM radio across North America. No, not you. What are you talking
mean everyone's?
About?
Okay. Everyone's tech
only,
report.
Oh, yes, that's right. He only broadcasts to you.
Sometimes it feels like it.
That's the power of radio again. But listen, there's so many stories we have barely get time to cover today. I don't know if you spotted this one. The FTC in America ordered AI accessibility startup AccessiBe to pay $1 million for misleading advertisers. Now, we've heard of AccessiBe. We've heard about the things they've done in the past. Well, they've been fined, or at least a request has been put in to fine AccessiBe, the startup that claims to make websites accessible, £1 million for not just misleading advertising, but sponsored reviews as well. Critics argue that their products, which use AI to automate website accessibility, are ineffective and potentially harmful to users with disabilities. The FTC order prohibits AccessiBe from overstating its tools' capabilities and requires clear disclosure of sponsored endorsements. That coming from TechCrunch, that report, of course, available on a number of outlets. But, really interesting to see how we're kind of, now we're moving on, right? We talk about the benefits of AI, and now we're talking about the dangers and the challenges and sometimes the overpromising that goes along with AI.
It's a conversation that's been had about accessibility layers for websites the longest time in our community, whether it's the best way to go, whether it shifts the responsibility of making something accessible, whether it's the best way for screen reader users who are used to doing things in a certain way to suddenly be thrown into a different way of doing things. I'm happy that they're being looked at, to be honest. I think it's a good thing.
We don't even have time to talk about Barclays in the UK. Barclays Bank is under fire for its mystery shopper program, which encouraged applicants to fabricate visual or hearing impairments to test bank services. Yes, you heard me right. The National Federation of the Blind in the UK criticised the practice, arguing that genuine blind or deaf individuals should be used to provide accurate feedback. Barclays acknowledged the issue and expressed a commitment to improve its approach. We are going to be talking to the NFB in the UK in the coming days, and we also are going to be hearing from Ipsos as well, the company who actually did the survey on behalf of Barclays Bank. It wasn't Barclays themselves who did the survey, or indeed ran the mystery shopper program. They put that out to Ipsos. We hear from them later in the week. But I mean, that is just a very, if I'm honest, rather disappointing thing to hear. Idea that you. Well, it is. Look, telling people, hey, you know what? If you're coming as a mystery shopper, why don't you just, pretend to be blind and, just tell us how you'd feel about that? And, maybe, I couldn't read that sign outside. Oh, and by the way, the other thing they said in this was not only that you can pretend to be blind, but, the definition of that was, well, if you wear glasses, that works.
Okay, yeah, that's utterly ridiculous to a degree. But I must admit, when I first heard this, I thought, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with someone saying, as a mystery shopper, oh, by the way, I'm blind. So, keep that in mind for any of your responses. But then when you actually dig into it, you think, how can they pick up whether those responses are right or wrong? And the information that the person pretending to be blind conveys could be utter rubbish anyway, which is totally irrelevant to us as the real blind.
Well, look, let me just ask the question. Is it okay for me to pretend I'm black?
Yes.
Or a woman?
Which is what I said as well.
It's just not, is it? I mean, can you imagine that'd be front page news? Fox News would explode if that happened.
And rightfully so. Yeah, no, I totally understand it. I'm just saying I'm not sure that blindness is seen in the same way. Someone pretending to be disabled is seen. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's obviously wrong. But I'm saying I think for the most general public, they say, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I can pretend to be blind. I can pretend to be deaf.
Yeah,
I don't think they see the results of that. They don't understand the effect that pretending and the responses from companies can have.
What could the reason for that be? What could possibly be the reason why we are not seen in that way, not seen as equivalent to, I don't know, other human beings in that sense? Well, what could it be? Oh, I know what it might be. Perhaps that there's no one at Barclays, perhaps who's blind, who's part of that program, who's putting out the Mystery Shopper program, who's suggesting, getting feedback in. I know there are blind people who work at Barclays Bank. In fact, I know a few who listen to this program. But, the point is that, it's a huge organization.
It's what we've always been saying.
Leadership, we need to have people a representative of the society that we live in. It's as simple as that. Or just, I don't know, think about it, guys. Just think about it.
I think it's a case of the general public will just assume, or even the consultancy that's dealing with being mystery shoppers probably just think, well, if you're blind, you can't do anything anyway.
I would say this.
You just expect the company to do everything for you.
Whatever you say in that sense, right? If you think, whenever you're having these conversations in your little, think tanks, when you're sitting there around your tables and you're all sipping your coffees and your lattes and you're all coming up with the next harebrained scheme, have a think about this. Whenever you use the word blind, take the word blind out for a second and put the word black or woman in. And if the sentence still plays in your mind and it's fine, everyone around the room says, yeah, that's a great idea, then carry on. Otherwise, and I bet you don't, you'll say, I think we should skip that idea and move on and try something else. Maybe let's get some actual blind people in the room. Just a thought. Yeah. Anyway, another story that came in over the past couple of weeks that we've not had a chance to cover is the new NLS audiobook player. Big story here for those in America who are going to get their hands on this, the DA2. It's a fantastic new device, very similar to the Victor Reader Stratus from Humanware, and it is going to be made available. Currently, it is in final testing, and we're hoping to catch up with the NLS team and find out about what's available there. I love the fact that in America, you do get access to these players. It used to be the case in the UK, you would get them. Not sure about the situation in Canada, you can tell me, but I know that in the US, this is something which is fully funded, and it's just wonderful. I mean, you've got the book player, which allows you to download the books directly to the device as well through NLS Bard.
Braille devices.
You've got the Braille devices as well through the Chameleon 20, which is just wonderful, which is their NLS Braille display. I just think it's wonderful, these devices. And there's another big story actually just coming out about a huge round of funding from the US government. I mean, we talk about the state of politics, but there are some glimmers of hope, especially for us. And one is a huge $10 million grant to give blind children access to the Monarch from Humanware, the tactile multi-line device. That's a huge story.
It is, yeah.
And it's a fantastic opportunity for blind children to get hands-on with a device that over the past week we've been talking about and saying, yes, it's all great to have a device like this. It costs what it does, but how do you get access to it? Well, here's one way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one of those rare occasions where you can look at politics and say, "Yeah, that's a good thing," right? It's just a case of you think funding for equipment it could solve so many of the problems that we have. Mm-hmm. When we talk about the cost of specialized tech, because that's the only thing the only negative we talk about when it comes to specialized tech is the pricing. We're all aware of how useful it can be, but how do you access it? I think site organizations and governments should be putting more work into actually funding.
Well, that would be the simplest way for a lot of us, and especially for children, to get access to it so they can learn with it. Absolutely. It's how we keep this tech alive, ultimately.
Exactly.
One of the ways we do it. And also I want to mention a story. We're going to be touching on this in more detail on Wednesday's show this week. Ontario set a goal to be fully accessible by January 1st, 2025. It may not surprise you to know it's nowhere near, say experts. This is a rather interesting story, quite a nuanced and delicate story, but we are going to treat it with the respect it deserves. We're giving it a full segment on Wednesday's show. We're going to be joined by David Lepofsky. You might remember David. He was on our show before, retired lawyer, but he is the man who pretty much led the charge for the Ontarians with Disabilities, or for the Accessibility for Ontarians Act to come into play 20 years ago. And he led that charge for almost a decade. And then finally that law came into force. 20 years on, it doesn't seem to be doing the job that it was intended to do, which was make Ontario accessible by 2025. They had 20 years to do this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to have gone through. So we're going to find out what that means. We're going to find out how this can impact on technology as well. So David Lepofsky joins us for half hour on Wednesday's show. Do not miss that, because I think there's two sides to this story. One is the fact the law even exists is incredible and unique in the first place. But in addition to that, it only works if it actually has teeth, if it actually does something, if it's enforced. And this is the other side of the problem. This is the big issue that we seem to be facing in Ontario.
I'm really interested in this conversation to see what the reason is. Is it just a matter of, 20 years, no matter how long it seems, isn't long enough? Or is it a case of they just haven't been rigorous enough or strict enough in enforcing this?
I feel the people who are running it are a bit like us. It was like, we'll get 20 years, it'll be fine. And then the day before,
December 25th.
December 31st, 2024, they're like, we need to do this now. Okay, we've failed.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds about the way we do it.
Well, we will find out the reasoning. It's an interesting story, definitely.
Well, it's great to be back for 2025. I'm really pleased to be here. I'm fired up. We've got so much to talk about. I have been playing with so many toys over the holidays and so many different things, apps, websites, reset my PC about 4 times. I've been busy and having lots of fun, and I have lots to report on this because, goodness me, I am like a coiled spring sitting here with things I want to talk about.
Oh, don't I know it? Yes.
Yeah, I know you've been getting...
I kept saying, we're on holiday, Stephen.
We're not going to talk to each other. And then, what was it, every 15 minutes?
Yes, I'm bored. Are you going in the shed? No, I'm not going in the shed. I'm bored. And then I'm going to reset this PC. Wow. Unbelievable. Take some time off, Stephen.
Don't agree with it. Terrible idea. So, we're going to be joined by Marc Aflalo next. But before we talk about CES 2025, I thought we'd look back to 25 years ago when I visited CES in Las Vegas and remind ourselves of some of the chats we had and some of the nonsense I got up to.
Coming up on Double Tap TV.
It's our CES 1 hour special. Steven's on the road to Sin City with all the cool tech from the show floor.
Has this turned into a cooking show here on Double Tap TV? Well, for the moment, yes, it has. Smart, autonomous cooking, though. I'm not actually going to do any work, which is nothing unusual in my kitchen, that's for sure. We're going to make something, are we?
Yes.
Is that the idea? We're going to cook something here. So I need to get dressed.
Right,
For this.
right.
It's really important.
We've got a hat and the apron for you.
I've got my apron here.
Yeah.
So this is going to be good. Well, let's go for my
A little
glasses.
bit tight.
Oh, there we go. We've got there. Right, okay. And just tie it up at the back. Do it properly. There we go.
All right.
And I've got my hat here as well.
Yes.
I hope this fits. Okay, so there we go.
All right.
Do I
Wonderful.
look stunning?
You're beautiful.
You're a fantastic liar. And it's ready.
It is ready.
Oh, I'm hungry. Come on, Anna. I'm hungry here. I'm a big baby when it comes to cooking, so it's fine by me. So there we go. We have our meal. That is it. Our meal is ready. See, I'm an all-in-one kind of guy, so yeah, there we go. So let's try that. That's amazing.
Steven, with all that cooking and stuff like that, I'm sure you're going to find somewhere to maybe, take a nap somewhere there on the show floor. Is there anything that we could potentially find to lay down for a little bit?
So smart technology really is moving into every single part of our lives, even into the bedroom. Here we have a smart bed, an app-controlled bed that helps you control climate, that helps you control movement in bed as well.
And the fact that technology is making its way into the bedroom like that is kind of cool, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, who'd have thought that kind of technology would come into the bedroom? But it's going to make a real difference to people, because I don't know about you, Mark, but I am forever having that problem of finding the cold spot on my bed. It's rather irritating, it really is. Although I often find it after my wife and I have an argument. There's often plenty of cold spots in the bed after that. Alexa, am I gorgeous? I think that's a no. if you're trying to lose weight.
Yes.
The smart belt.
Oh, yes, you saw
see
that. The smart belt.
So this tells you if you're getting fat. Like, I need anyone to tell me I'm getting fat. I've got a wife for that.
You're roaming around the CES show floor. This is our CES 2020 special. Stephen, where are you now?
Somebody's told me that there are very large, curved, amazing televisions around here somewhere. Any ideas?
If you look behind you, Stephen, I think that you might see a couple of those curved TVs.
Oh, is that what that big blur is?
Yes, that's
okay. Now it all makes sense.
That's what
Thanks.
the big blur is.
Okay, so I'm chasing the Energizer Bunny. Hello, Energizer Bunny. How are you? I'll speak on his behalf. I say he, is that okay? Hey, banging your drum there. And one question for you, Energizer Bunny. Can you go all day? Fantastic, there we go. Listen, enjoy CES. You have a good time, are you? I think you'll be better served than we will be. I am.
Oh, that takes me back. I realised something, Shaun. I say a lot of, or make a lot of jokes about my wife, and they're not always nice jokes. I've realised this.
It's like being back in the 70s, Stephen Scott. It's beautiful. I'm wearing funny hats. I do like that. Well done, you.
My chef hat was rather beautiful, actually. I should say as well, when I was asking Lady A whether I was gorgeous or not, that was because they were demoing at that time a smart mirror. And I was looking into a smart mirror, and the fact that I was met with silence brought me to the conclusion
Well,
that
that's just
clearly
AI.
Yeah. It was very smart, even back in 2020, and you not even to answer. Listen, we're going to talk more about CES 2025, because, of course, that was the big news of last week, and who better to break it all down with than my former co-host on Access Tech Live, the show that is no more, but he has still got his own show on Sirius XM, which, of course, goes out across North America. That is Your Tech Report. It's Marc Aflalo. Marc Aflalo!
We all need a backup plan, guys. We all need a backup plan.
It's good to have you back, Mark.
It's good to be here, gentlemen. It's been so long. It's like I don't speak to you every day, but I mean, hey, in this setting, why not? Why not connect around things we love? Like, I don't know, technology?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's what a week it was. I mean, well, okay, I want to get your take on this, because I think you look at this from that mainstream perspective. We always tend to dive in and look what's accessibility in there, what's looking like it's going to work for us. But you're giving that broad view when you're doing your show. What was your take on CES 2025? Is it still living up to the hype?
Oh, everybody's saying that it's living up to the hype and that we're seeing a lot more technology that's more available versus, what people said about 10 years ago, which is you'd go there and everything you'd see would never make the light of day. So that's a big shift, I think, that we're seeing, is that a lot of the stuff you're seeing will make it in our hands if it's not in our hands already. That being said, the quality of the product that's going to be in our hands, that leaves a little bit to be desired, to be perfectly honest. I mean, obviously, TVs, see what's latest and greatest in TVs. We're kind of tired of it, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. Laptops, again, the biggest innovation we're seeing in laptops these days is, rolling screens that get larger, new processors and stuff. So nothing terribly exciting there. I tend to focus in on some of the weird stuff, guys. Like some of the stuff, I'm like, what is that? Like, I'm sure you've talked about that little cat you put on your mug that blows your coffee to keep it cool, or various little trinkets like that are probably in the outskirts of CES, in the back where nobody really ventures to. But those are kind of the fun gimmicky things. And of course, everybody's into the AI smart glasses. Like, everybody has a new set of Ray-Ban frames these days that do different things. Will they ever see the light of day? That I'm kind of curious about. I think they will, but I love my frames.
Firstly, I don't think we've talked about the coffee blowing gadget yet, but we will do. And I'm slightly offended you called it a gimmick there, Mark. I think that's genius. Hasn't that always been the case, though? I mean, CES is, going back to the argument we've had in many other areas of technology, is that can technology change that much in a year anyway? Should this be like every 4 years, like the World Cup? That's soccer for non-British people. Like the World Cup, technology events should be every 4 years, so we see some real change, right?
I mean, I guess we could, have the same argument around new phones every year or new devices every
Exactly.
single year. Yeah, I mean, it would be fun, but I think they'd lose the momentum of this regular annual appointment. If we did it every 4 years, I don't know. I think there is an economic aspect to all this where it is also about making money. There's a, association behind this that's trying to do things. And maybe also doing something every year does push innovation, does force people to kind of figure out, okay, what's new, what's going to be coming, even if it's not ready. And that, I think, is what sparks our imagination, right? That's what's the fun part about it, because you go there and you're like, okay, well, these, let's say 15 items are never going to see the light of day in the next couple of years, but my mind's going. Now I can think about, for example, okay, there's a great company, I don't remember the name right now, that has developed solar panels that look like everyday objects. They can be in a backpack. They could be the flap on a backpack, so you can charge your devices that are in your backpack. They could be on a hat. They had a bicycle helmet that had a strip down the middle that had a solar panel on it that powered a microphone and a Bluetooth headset on it. Like, you look at that technology. They, of course, demonstrate the different products that it could be part of, but the technology itself, that's like, oh, that's interesting. Can I put this on the back of my phone? Is this a case? Is this something that my car could have on the roof? Is this something that should be on my bicycle? Like, it sparks your imagination and might drive other people to create with it that technology. That's where I find it interesting, and I find that maybe once a year is not a bad idea.
And it's not like these ideas haven't been realized, right? I mean, electric cars, when they first came along, the Nissan Leaf had exactly that. It had solar panels in it so that, it could power some of the technology inside, as well as the battery doing what it did. It would also help to charge the battery. So, lots of this is starting to be realized. But as you say, in new ways, and if it's material, then it could be in a jacket, it could be in a bag, it could be literally anywhere, which is really cool. CES also breaks news as well, and one particular story which has caught the media's attention, which is outside of CES, is the news that Meta and Mark Zuckerberg, in what some are calling a hostage video, because of the way it was filmed, where he was just sort of sitting there staring at the camera saying, okay, we're getting away from content creators or content moderators, and we're instead going to be bringing in essentially the same scheme that Elon Musk has over on X, which is community notes. Talk us through this story a little bit and what this announcement really means, as far as you know.
Well, it really means that they're going to be shifting their efforts from actually having human beings and AI working together out of their California facility. They're even moving those people away who are physically moderating topics and conversations and things that are posted on the platform. Now, let's remember, their platform is not only Facebook, it's Instagram, it's Threads. And they're going to give people the ability to determine whether something is true or not. That is probably the number one reason I left Twitter or I left X, and I turned off notifications, because I constantly get notifications for things that I appear to be real. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. This just happened. I click on it and I'm like, oh, this is not even close to reality. And they're going down that same route. Their explanation, which is, free speech and the First Amendment and all that, I don't understand it. I don't get the logic behind it, because in this day and age, as a parent with kids who go to the internet and get their facts off of what's online, to not, I mean, my kids are 12 and 15. They don't know how to, check their sources. So it does shift away from this whole, everything I've been brought up with, journalistically speaking, right? Check your sources, make sure that when you turn on the news that you're getting information that is vetted and checked. I guess these days we no longer need to put trust in these companies and platforms. So this is the direction they're going. This is the direction Elon Musk went, obviously, with X, which is, one will argue probably in 20 years from now that might have been the downfall, let alone him buying it in the first place. But this is what they're going to be doing too. And the reason they're shifting the moderation, by the way, so they actually have a whole group of people that do moderate, and they're still going to be around and doing some stuff, mostly around, politics and things that we wouldn't really care about, to be perfectly honest. They're moving it to Texas, so they're moving it away from California. So they're not biased by Democratic or Republican lines. It's just they shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be in California. I don't understand. I just don't get it. Like, this is like, why you
can't be biased in Texas? No,
I come to Montreal. Maybe it's better there. I don't have a clue. Maybe you can own your guns in Texas. I don't get it. The
point is that you're making, Mark, it shouldn't matter. I mean, I'd seen some people on my social media feed celebrating the fact, oh, this is the return of free speech. But hang on, this is fact checking, isn't
Yes.
it? I mean, it doesn't matter if your content moderators are making mistakes and censoring free speech opinion and not just pointing out, actually, this fact that you're pointing to isn't a fact. This is an outright, misinformation. Then retrain your content moderators. Don't throw it all out and say now you can say anything, because, I mean, verifying something as true or false is really important.
Listen,
there was an example, though. There was an example during COVID, and this came up quite a bit more recently. I see, people like Bill Maher, for example, talking about this quite a lot, where, people were being kicked off Facebook or being silenced or censored on Facebook for suggesting that the COVID the virus actually came from a lab in China. And anyone who suggested that, they were being censored, or at least what they were saying was being pushed to the back of the room. And, that's dangerous when information is not able to get out there, whether it's right or wrong at that early stage. These are opinions. And don't we just see social media as just people's opinions? Okay, different if it's an actual news network that's providing it. But when it's an individual, I mean, do we really take it? Is it just me? Is this an age thing? I just don't look at that as serious opinion. I don't see that as serious or more knowledgeable than anyone else.
Yeah, it's a good argument. It's a good fact that at the end of the day, we're if you believe what some random person says, then who's the naive one here? And are you censoring them if you don't let them have their opinion, whether it's good or bad? I think we get into a problem when you have malicious actors and people who are intentionally planting things and misinformation to try and detract people. I mean, look at the election. Look at various elections. I mean, no one's ever going to find out who messed with election coverage and who didn't at the end of the day, because, again, people in Russia hire people in the U.S. and influencers and all that stuff. But maybe we need to be better trained, to be perfectly honest. Maybe we need to be better trained or train our kids and teach ourselves to better identify where we should be trusting our information from.
Well, I mentioned that at CES. I mentioned at CES that, news is broken. And of course, the story came up when X's CEO, Linda Yaccarino, took to the stage. She was talking about how X was doing, but she was, of course, asked first about this very issue and Meta and their decision to move to community notes and away from content moderation. Here's what she had to say.
I think it's really exciting that when you think about community notes being good for the world, think about it as this global collective consciousness, keeping each other accountable at global scale in real time. And it couldn't be more validating than to see that Marc and Meta realized that, right? And when you think about community notes, Marc and Meta realized that it's the most effective, fastest fact-checking without bias. The people all around the world have spoken. It's why there's almost 1 million community noters on X. And when you think about it, world leaders are on X. Where are all you, right? Marc and Meta are there, right? Global leaders, business leaders sharing their thoughts every day. Where are you? Gen Z, all on X. Authenticity matters to Gen Z. Where are all of you? The time now, go big on X. It's an incredible validation of the power of what's good for the world, and that's community notes. Mm-hmm.
Now, Linda Yaccarino there was talking to marketers in that room, amongst others, but and when she was referring to Marc and Meta, I don't think she was talking about you, Marc, just to be very clear.
Good.
I think she was referring to Mark Zuckerberg. I could be wrong.
I don't know if I'd be opposed to being mentioned in the same breath as Mark Zuckerberg, but I guess context. You know what? You can let us know in the community notes.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Well, we could say it on Facebook now, and no one can criticize us, right? But they can add a note, which is fantastic. Okay, look, let's talk about the tech itself. Marc, what stood out for you?
NVIDIA is one of the ones that I love watching when they hit the stage, because it sets the stage for not only graphics technology and gaming and stuff, but all computing in general. I mean, computing, entertainment industry. And of course, when they took the stage, they announced the brand new RTX 50 series GPUs, incredible graphics cards with new Blackwell architecture, which is, I mean, the amount of components and transistors on these tiny, tiny, tiny little chips that are powering everything we do in our lives, whether it's the latest generation gaming laptops to movie making and filmmaking to, the phones that we use. It just blows my mind the things that we can do now. If you just think back even 10, 15 years ago. And that led perfectly into things like handheld gaming, which did take a lot of spotlight at CES this year. Acer, for example, unveiled a Nitro Blaze 11-inch handheld gaming PC. They call it portable, but it's the size of like a giant iPad, which is absolutely hilarious. But this seems to be the trend in the gaming side of things, where everybody wants to be on the go. Other than those, hardcore PC enthusiasts that have those great builds at home, everybody wants to be gaming on the go. And NVIDIA, of course, powers a lot of that stuff, and then you have all the companies following suit. So it's a beautiful, collaboration between the chips, and then you got the computers, and then you got that stuff. And on the computer side of things, then you've got companies like HP or Dell, for example, who's abandoning their whole XPS line and renaming things and rebranding things. For what reason? I don't know. Maybe to make it a bit more logical, but we're seeing really, really cool shifts in the power we're getting in our laptop PCs. Yes, of course, desktops and gaming devices all benefit as well, but that's why I'd like to kind of go back to where NVIDIA starts at CES, because they set the stage for everything else that was announced, which is kind of a perfect trifecta of everything that's going on there. And then, of course, the TV side of things. Yeah, I mean, we normally saw incredible advancements. We saw 3D TVs and stuff like that come and go, 8K and stuff. The technology that we're not going to see for 10 years, because quite honestly, I think we're at the stage now with televisions that they go in our wall. We're not changing that, 17 times a year. But some pretty cool technology on things like transparent televisions. And, the frame TV from Samsung, which everybody loves, is now actually getting a quality screen. It's not just going to be artwork that's going to be in your living room. You're actually going to be able to watch really good high quality HDR television in 4K when you're not using it as a beautiful way to display your picture of your trip to CES, for example. And of course, as I said, the weird is always the fun stuff to look at as well.
Yeah.
Talking of weird, let me ask you a question. The NVIDIA keynote was really interesting to me. Now, obviously, I'm not a gamer anymore, but I'm still really interested in NVIDIA because they're the leader of the pack when it comes to graphics cards. And obviously, all the interest was in their latest graphics card, the RTX 50 series or 5000 series. But you mentioned something there about computing and gaming on the go. And one of the things that made me listen was the announcements of a handheld gaming computer, so something like an 8-inch or 11-inch, I think one of them was, gaming handheld computer. But it mentioned running Windows on it. And then, of course, I'm thinking, well, forget gaming. Could I use this as my, this is the new netbook that we used to all use. Is this enough to run
better than a netbook,
on?
Sean?
Well, yeah, I mean, this could be, the ultimate in handheld portable computing if it can run Windows. But another really interesting thing from the keynote was the work that NVIDIA are doing in AI. They're really focusing in. I mean, they're a $3 trillion company now, and most of that is down to AI. But they did mention, these smaller computing units that they're doing, the SDKs, and using them in robotics. And particularly, they mentioned computer vision. And it's all down to the amount of processing power they can deliver on board. I mean, it's really important stuff. It's not just gaming.
No, I mean, listen, they are the leader of the pack when it comes to AI and everything that powers AI. They even, in an interview on stage, he was talking about competitors, and he's like, what we're doing just on the entry level is what people are still trying to achieve. They're so ahead of the game when it comes to it. And, touching on a couple of points there, for example, on the gaming PCs, they are full-fledged Windows computers. You can use these. My son has, I can't remember, the Ally, the ROG Ally. He plugs it into his computer and does Windows stuff on it. They are that powerful. Memory and stuff is getting smaller. Storage is getting super fast and portable. So it's definitely attractive, and it's definitely something you can use. You can use the screen reader on. I've seen people repurpose these for lots of different things. The mini computer you're talking about, they actually basically created a supercomputer in a form factor of an Apple TV almost, and they're demonstrating that. And people are using that for development. People are using that to power different AI tools. So they're absolutely ahead of the game when it comes to everything that powers. When I talked about my excitement about NVIDIA, I mean, BMW announced a augmented reality windshield for their cars. Who do you think powers that? You know, it's graphic engines in ways that we haven't even thought of before, and nobody's even coming close to the work that NVIDIA is doing. And that's why when you look at NVIDIA as a company, if you think back to the days where Windows or Microsoft, for example, they created the operating system, but they worked with everybody, right? Every PC manufacturer, Hewlett Packard, you name the company, they work with it. NVIDIA is the same. They don't discriminate. They're not like, we're only going to work with Apple. They work with everybody. There's no discrimination there. Yes, they have some of their own products in terms of, of course, the GPUs, but they don't discriminate. You want to put an NVIDIA GPU in your computer? Use it. You want to use NVIDIA AI and some other GPU? Use it. And that's what's really cool about it. And when you say trillion, I mean, I'm curious to see their valuation in 5 years from now, let alone what it is now.
No, absolutely fascinating stuff that's going on in this field. And this is the thing at CES. You get the chance to get a sense of what's coming. And this is coming. This is, again, what I feel this year. And I felt this last year to some degree, is that at CES, we're looking at stuff that, it's coming down the line. It's not out maybe today, but it is definitely coming. The vaporware that we've perhaps seen in the past is maybe not so much. There is plenty of it, though. But, a couple of companies I want to mention all on the way here. Definitely not vaporware. These are products that you can even buy today. Shocks were there. Of course, many of us love our open ear headphones, and that is what Shocks provides. OpenFit 2 is out, and they were showing that off. Also Open Meet, which kind of moves along from OpenCom. Now, Shaun, you might remember those because we had tried those out, and these are essentially the bone conduction headphones with the neckband that go around the back of your head, but they have a microphone boom arm. They've kind of made like a pro version of that to go even further. And I'm really keen to try those out from Shocks. I think that sounds pretty cool. Moon Buddy. Now, this was an interesting one. It's actually for kids, but I think for anybody, frankly, this could be quite cool. Doesn't require an app, doesn't require to be connected to anything, but it's a very simple device that helps with anxiety. You can hold this little thing. I don't know what it actually looks like.
It looks like a little bear, like a little teddy bear with a big belly, kind of like you, Steve.
Right.
Except with ears, little ears that go up.
You can have a Steven.
It's
you
like
can
a little
squeeze
egg,
a Steven.
like a little egg with a little teddy bear kind of wrap.
Hang on. No, are you just suggesting I look like the egg with hair on it, or
this is dangerous?
So let's talk about that thing that blows into your mug.
But I mean, I love it. I'll just say about the Moon Buddy. I think it was quite cool because the idea is for kids who are feeling anxious. It helps them breathe, so they press the button on it, and you can press the button a number of times, and it will change the sort of rhythm of the breathing of the little bear essentially. And you hold it in your hand, and it just kind of you breathe with it. It gives you a rhythm to breathe to and calms you down. I think things like that, although they're aimed at kids, I think that could be ussil to a lot of people. I don't know about you guys. I've been in plenty of meetings over the past few years where I've thought, I could do with a Moon Buddy right now. So I think that kind of stuff's quite cool.
I do want to laugh at that and point at that, but it reminds me of the breathe functionality of the Apple Watch.
Yes.
Which I thought, wow, that's ridiculous. But you know what? It's actually pretty good.
It's really good.
And it does work. It centers you. It's pretty cool.
Can I go back to Shocks for a second? I just bought my first pair of Shocks. And the funny thing is the reason I love headphones, like I'm a headphone addict. It's a problem. I know. I've addressed it. I'm seeking therapy. But
listen, I feel you, but I'm with keyboards.
Keyboards.
Okay, listen, we all have our addictions.
Yeah.
So the reason I bought a pair of Shocks was because I'm jealous of all those people who can wear an AirPod all day long and listen to things and have. I find it super distracting because I'm an audio guy. So even with transparency mode on, they could be the best in the world. There's still something in my ear,
Yeah.
and my brain has that connection. There's something in my ear. I don't like it. But that being said, I like notifications coming there. I like being able to interact with ChatGPT or Gemini or Siri if I have to. So I bought a pair of Open Shocks. So I can throw one on my ear. It doesn't actually block anything. And I can interact with my communications with my, I don't know about you, but I've been chatting more and more with ChatGPT lately. Like it's my friend having conversations. So I bought a pair and I was actually super impressed. I have tried them in stores, but never actually used for myself. And I'm like, I'm never giving these back. I wouldn't I'm not using them on a plane. Obviously they have use cases, but for everyday use and wear, amazing.
Yeah, I love them. You using those, Shaun? Have you tried those? Or did you get the cheap ones?
Yeah, I get the cheap one. No, I'm not really a fan of the Shocks. I totally get them, but I don't mind. It doesn't bother me having like the AirPod Pros in either. I don't mind that in my ear.
Oh, you're an audio snob.
Well, you know what? I prefer the sunglasses, the audio sunglasses. I mean, it keeps your ears clear.
I totally with you on that. But as a not blind person, they're distracting.
You.
You don't want to wear sunglasses all day, right?
Exactly. That being said,
cool.
I have looked into getting the new Ray-Ban frames with the transition lenses so that I can go outside. But I'm just not used to wearing glasses all day long. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And I used to be, and then I got LASIK and I didn't. But so I find it a bit strange to wear it all day long. That being said, I did change the lenses in my Ray-Ban frames. I bought a pair of replacement lenses that from a company, Reverent Optics. Pretty cool stuff. But better tint, better color. Anyhow, that's my story.
Wow, you could change them yourself.
You could just pop them in and out. It's quite easy. Yeah.
Wow. Well, actually, I do know about the popping out because I did
break them.
Unintentionally break the glasses, but the lens just popped back in, which was quite good. I think that was actually the ones the dog managed to grab.
Did you guys see all the robot vacuums with arms and various tools on
them?
them?
Let's talk about this.
I want to talk about this because I was just blown away. The smart vacuum, I've said it before, I think is fantastic. Like the smart home device that really delivers. I think it's great, especially for us. If you can't see, they're fantastic.
Unless you fall over it.
Yeah, but when it runs out of power, you just, But apart from that, they're great. And there was quite a few different form factors at CES. The one that stood out for me was the one with the arm. It's got a robotic arm on it from Roborock. I think it's called the Z70. And this thing it can mop, it can vac, and everything else. But the thing is, it's got an arm. And when it detects an obstacle, like all of us have had a pair of boxers or a pair of socks on the floor, or in my house, a dog toy. I've got so many dog toys all over my floor. So when it's doing its cleaning, if it detects an object, the arm pops out, and there's a camera on the end of the arm as well, and it can pick it up and move it out of the way and then carry on. It's genius. Now, of course, I'm sure there's a price premium to that, but I just thought, what a fantastic idea. And there was a few other robot vacs where, they're being multi-purpose. There's one where you could, from SwitchBot, I believe, where you can add different tops to it. And you can use it to carry things around.
Yeah. And it could follow you around your house vacuuming and watching you. That seems creepy.
Air purifiers. What's it watching me for? Why is it watching me while...
Security.
It's watching me eat things on the couch.
Stephen, it's for you to program to watch others in your home.
Oh,
okay. It's got a little bit sinister.
Wasn't the one that climbed the stairs as well? Was it Dreamy?
Dreamy does climb the stairs, which is I find a super interesting one. I enjoy the fact that my Roomba gets to the stairs and goes like, "Yeah, I'm not tackling that one."
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Can you imagine the battery power it needs to climb a flight of stairs, and then it's going to climb up. It's going to be great. I'm here, and I need to charge now. So can I go back down, please? Someone carry me.
2 docking stations you need for that.
Yeah, there's one. The one with the tabletop, which is interesting. There's a cat bed that doubles as an air purifier. Have you seen this one? So it's like a bassinet for a cat. So his cat sits on top, and underneath is an air purifier. But it also measures metrics of your cat, like how heavy is your cat, how often does it sleep. I mean, pet tech.
Smart bed for your cat.
I'll take it. Pet tech. But going back to the arm on the vacuum, Shaun, my biggest problem with the robot vacuum is, it needs to map your house the first time it goes. And I have so many things in the way all the time. So now the fact that there's an arm, as long as it doesn't accidentally pick up my dog poop, which is obviously the biggest problem, I think it's a brilliant invention.
I want that. Where is that tech? Because I need that in my garden. Yeah.
A robot mower that also detects your dog poop and cleans it up
and deals with it.
For you.
Honestly, I don't care. If that costs $500,000, I'd find the money.
Because it's just 2027.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Talk to me about Solus.
Solus is interesting. This is a company that has their head company or their parent company is called SEMO. SEMO has developed artificial intelligence and an algorithm that finds the best cellular or wireless network in your area currently and constantly switches you back and forth between networks without you even knowing it. So it's anticipating cell towers and all this access. And they've had this line of small mobile hotspots. They started as LTE hotspots for traveling around the world. It was called the Roam. Well, now they have got the Solus Go. The Solus Go takes that hotspot technology. So literally you can turn it on, connect 10 devices, get 5G in the best carrier that you are in. So if you're in the US somewhere and T-Mobile's good, then great. If you're, in the UK and it's Vodafone or something, then it's great. So they'll actually use the best networks. So you're getting the lowest latency, the highest speed. The new version of Solus, the Solus Go, has added the battery battery pack and the cables built into it. So you can get a couple charges on your phone and get that wireless connectivity when you go. And the funniest part is when I had the conversation with them, I thought, oh, it's about global roaming and stuff like that. They said, actually, no, ever since COVID now, it's changed, it's shifted. The actual real use of this lately is about backup purposes for your home. I found that super interesting.
Well, let's hear more about it, because you spoke to Jing Liu, who is the founder and CEO of Solus. Let's hear what he had to say to you.
We just announced at CES a new product. It's called Solus Go, G-O. And it's a little bit different, this product, compared with other type of Wi-Fi that you use. We have integrated power bank function with our traditional Solus device. So, and the difference is that this is a unique device that come with all the cables together. The reason we have developed this product is actually more and more of our users are not the typical traveling users. So I think pre-pandemic, 90% of our users use our service for international travel. Okay. But right now, most of our users, 70% users, are actually domestic, local US users. And one of the biggest reasons they use us is they always want to have a backup. Okay. For example, just today, the whole LA area is in chaos of the fire. Last year there were several hurricanes in North Carolina and, Florida, so a lot of people get hit by these disasters, and then their phone network doesn't work. Okay. And when that happens and the broadband doesn't work, they're completely disconnected from the world. And, during a disaster, that's where they really need connectivity. They want to know what's going on, what are the status, is it safe to go out?
Very, very interesting. You'll hear more about that on Your Tech Report, of course, with Marc, and we'll get details on how you can find that show shortly. But I want to also ask you about iBot, because you spoke to them. What is that?
So iBot is a kiosk that does the basics of an eye exam without having to sit and wait for an ophthalmologist to do all the fun testing. So it's a kiosk that can throw into optometrists, into glasses shops, into airports, into grocery stores. And it's a less than 10-minute option for you to go and do a basic eye exam. Now, you're not going to get a prescription right then and there. It does go to the cloud, and a actual registered doctor is looking over the data, but it does the heavy lifting of collecting all the basic data right there on the kiosk, and then goes to the cloud and comes back with a prescription. They say you can have a prescription in under 30 minutes or even 10 minutes in most cases. Obviously, that's going to be dependent on load, but it's really cool because if you think about an eye exam, and I know it's different when you deal with issues like retinitis pigmentosa, and you need a little bit more help there. But for the average American or Canadian or anybody worldwide who doesn't even focus on their eye health, to be able to just walk up to a kiosk and in 10 minutes just do a basic eye exam and realize, hey, I need some help or something's changed, it's pretty revolutionary. If you think about some of the countries that don't even have access to doctors like that, that's a really big thing. There are more people in the world than there are doctors that can accommodate this. So I found it super interesting, and they've got incredible results, incredible reaction to the actual ability to do it, and they're expanding and they're just growing worldwide. And I found that super interesting.
iBot is what we do is we automate a lot of the things that happen in a vision test and vision exam to get to your prescriptions in a matter of 90 seconds. So our technology allows people to walk into an eyeglass store, push a button, get a prescription, buy glasses, so that it's as easy as buying shoes. From a consumer standpoint, everything we build and design, our vision testing technology is made for the user to use, right? And all technology up to this point has always been built for the clinician, for doctors, for technicians. And that's the big difference. And so all our technology just works seamlessly, fully automatic, fully automated, and very little time. And it works for everybody, right? 16-year-old to 95-year-olds. No instructions. It just does all the work automatically.
I want to mention as well before we go, because, like you say, there's lots of weird and wonderful stuff. But Shaun, I think for you, there's one particular device that, I think you should be rather excited about, because I know, for example, recently you broke your office chair that you're currently sitting in.
No.
And I think Razer have come up with a new gaming chair with heat functionality.
And
It gives
air
you
conditioning.
heat and air conditioning.
Yeah, cooling and heating. Sean, you want it?
He's so stunned he's
That
lost
he's
his
muted
voice.
himself. Yes.
Wait, so sorry.
Yeah, he's back. There he is.
I believe it's called Project Aerial, this one. Heating and cooling, as Mark says. Yes, aircon. Look, this is one of those ones you think, is this just a gimmick? But actually, people that have tried it out said it was actually really good. So it's got a little fan at the back, and it can blow hot air and cool air at you. It's self-powered. Apparently, it's very quiet as well. It's being a Razer chair. Of course, it's covered in LEDs as well, RGB. The only downside to this, I believe it's controlled by a touchscreen on the side. So how accessible it's going to be. But if you get hot playing your games or in front of your computer, then, this can cool you down. I'm interested. I want one.
Listen, I've got air-conditioned and heated seats in my car. I mean, obviously that's, climate dependent and stuff like that, where it's benefits. But I find this super cool. Like if you're gaming for hours at a time and you're getting all sweaty in the nether regions, turn on the air conditioning and boom, there you go.
Nether regions. I knew we'd get there eventually. So it always gets to that point of the body at some point at CES. If it's not sleep tech or whatever else. Fascinating stuff. I know you didn't get a chance to get out there this year, but it's one of those things you can actually, I think it's easier, if I'm honest, to report on it from afar because there's just so much going on. We can follow you, of course, on various platforms. So tell us about your tech report, where you can get it.
It's available across North America on SiriusXM, which is a satellite radio service, channel 167 every weekend. But if you go to yourtechreport.com, and it's literally just spelled yourtechreport.com, all the episodes are there, and you could find it there as well.
Marc Aflalo, as always, thank you so much for coming back on. Come back soon. And that's it for today. Don't forget, tomorrow we are back talking once again about CES, but from the accessibility angle. We're going to be joined by people who were actually there, Shaun. Some accessibility expert. We'll tell you tomorrow. You've got to tune in to find out. I'm not going to give it all away. And also, you never know, someone might, duck out because they're too tired after the long trip home. So, we don't want to commit to too much at this stage. But, we will be talking to you tomorrow. We'll tell you all about the accessibility angle, of which there's a lot to talk about with our guests tomorrow. Shaun, have a good one. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye.